Hari Om. Let us chant the first 10 verses of chapter 8. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adhidaivam kimuchyate adhiyajna katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरः विसर्गकर्म संहितः अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृतां वद अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् कलेवरं यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मर युध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः मामे वैश्यस्य संशयः अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् कविं पुराणमनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्.
करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ओम शांति शांति शांति. We are starting with the chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga. It's called Akshara Brahma Yoga. 7th chapter we finished, and that chapter is called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Correct? Chapter 7 is called Jnanam and Vijnana, knowledge and wisdom, the yoga of knowledge and wisdom. Having gotten that knowledge and wisdom, we are moving into Akshara Brahma Yoga, the yoga of the imperishable Brahman. In Jnanam and Vijnanam, he spoke about two factors. the Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti, and then the method to get there, etc. All that he spoke. By doing all this, you will gain Vijnanam. He should have concluded 7th chapter like that. Logical conclusion is he could have said, or he should have said, by doing what this, you would have gotten this. You would have gotten Vijnanam. Then chapter 7 is, the conclusion of chapter 7 is correct. There what he did, instead of concluding it like that, he introduced words. He introduced technical words. He introduced jargons, obviously which Arjuna don't know or understand. And therefore, Arjuna asks, what are those words that you mentioned? What are those 7 words that you mentioned? Whatever those words are, we are going to see that. That is the connection between the 7th chapter and the 8th chapter. When we did the introduction to this 7th chapter, 7th chapter we forgot. How are we to remember the introduction to the 7th chapter? The 7th chapter introduction, we said, the middle 6 talks about Brahman, the God. The first 6 talks about you. The middle 6 talks about Brahman, God. The last 6 talks about the relationship, Asi, the R. How do we get? So, Tat, Tvam, Asi. Tvam, Tat, Asi. That is the sequence. If you paraphrase it, Tat, Tvam, Asi, the sequence that Bhagavad Gita follows is Tvam, Tat, Asi. Now, what is Tat? He introduced God as with gunas and without gunas. God that can be conceived of as in Saguna, and God that is beyond that, Nirguna. So throughout Bhagavad Gita, the focus will be on Nirguna. He will emphasize a lot on Nirguna. Wherever there is a possibility, wherever Arjuna finds it difficult, he comes to Saguna and lifts him up to Nirguna. Even though his focus is on Nirguna, he comes to Saguna. So when you talk about God, first he is talking about Nirguna God. Chapter 7, 8 and even 9, half of the 9th chapter is going to talk about Nirguna. Arjuna asks at the end of the 9th chapter, this Nirguna and all is so confusing, Krishna. Tell me in the world where it is. Tell me with guna. So chapter 10 and chapter 11 talks about Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, where he talks about God with guna. So first Nirguna and then Saguna. And then 12th chapter, after listening to both, Arjuna gets too many questions you ask and you are not ready to digest the answer. What will happen? More confusion, isn't it? So too many questions people ask. And you know that they are not ready to digest the answer. You can give the answer. They are not able to digest the answer. So what happens after listening to everything in chapter 12? He asks, how should I worship you? With guna or without guna? With form or without form? Because chapter 7, 8, 9, you glorified without form. Chapter 10 and 11, you glorified with form. Actually, Krishna didn't glorify with form. Arjuna asked a question, which Arjuna conveniently forgets. That is how we all have a discussion with the masters. We ask a question and the guru gives an answer and you get carried away in the answer and you will forget the question. And then you will say, why did you say that? He will say, why did you? Krishna says, why will I say anything? You asked me I am saying, wherever I want to make you ask something, I will confuse you. There are two things. Wherever I want to make you ask something, I will introduce words. Obviously, you will not understand. And also, it is one of the techniques. One of the techniques in teaching. Because the student goes on nodding the head. No way the teacher can understand whether they are nodding their head out of understanding or the neck muscles are so relaxed that they are nodding the head. So the teacher doesn't know why the head is being nodded like that, isn't it? And most of the time neck muscles gets relaxed. That's all, isn't it? They get so relaxed that people nod their head. So he introduces some words. If Arjuna is alert, he will ask the meaning of those words. That is chapter 8. That is chapter 8. So you understand the thought flow from chapter 7 to chapter 12, and also you understand the connection from chapter 7 to chapter 8. So 7, 8, 9, Nirguna Brahman. 10 and 11, Saguna Brahman. 12, what should I do? Should I worship you with form or without form? And Krishna gives a beautiful answer for that. Whether you worship with form or without form, are you having these 25 qualities? It doesn't really matter whether you are worshipping me with form or without form. Don't worry about that. Are you having these 35 qualities? If you are having these 35 qualities, it doesn't really matter whether it is with form or without form. Ultimately, you will reach the goal of self-realization. That is how he concludes in chapter 12. And chapter 13, he starts a different line of discussion altogether. Asi. Now, when he concluded chapter 7, which we finished last week, he introduced words. He introduced 6 words and he introduced a beautiful concept. A very confusing concept. Krishna introduced 6 words he introduced, and then he introduced the 7th one. The 7th one is Prayana Kale Picha. Prayana Kale, at the time of death. Arjuna never asked any of these things. He never asked what is this 6, and he also didn't ask what is this Prayana Kale Picha. Now when he said all this, Arjuna woke up. Arjuna woke up and said, wait. When things are so conducive around me, so difficult to remember God, at the time of death, when all the faculties are leaving, the eyes is going, the ears are going, the body is getting stiff and cold, and you are struggling for, at that time, what will you want to remember? What will a person remember? Definitely not God. Definitely that is true. They'll remember everything else, but definitely not. So, Prayana Kale Picha. Now, Arjuna picked up the cue from there and asked, explain this. That is chapter 8. So, very short chapter, the Yoga of Imperishable Brahman, Akshara Brahma. It has got 28 verses. One of the small chapters, 28 verses. First is answering the question. 6 words, 6 crisp definitions. He doesn't elaborate it. 6 words he uses, and Arjuna asked, what are those 6 words? Very crisp definitions he gives. And then he takes up that Prayana Kale for an elaboration. And the entire Prayana Kale elaboration goes right up to verse 28. The paths of return, the paths of no return, everything. So all that he's going to talk about. End. Where there is Jivan Mukti. Now technically we will understand first and then we will go into the thing. where we are talking about Jivan Mukti, there is no Prayana Kali. Don't worry, these doubts and all will not come for us. We will plant these doubts and we will answer the doubts. Otherwise, how are we to continue the class then? How to pass time till 9 o'clock? That is my problem, isn't it? So, where we are talking about Jivan Mukti, liberation now, why talk about Prayana Kale? Because Jivan Mukti talks about liberation now, there is no Prayana Kale after that. The moment he is talking about Prayana Kale, definitely he is not talking about Jivan Mukti, he is talking about that which continues into the next Janma also. So definitely, obviously he is meaning that. Now Arjuna's question is, chapter 2 Allah in glorified Jivan Mukta. 3, 4, 5, so much you spoke about action and concluded in Jivan Mukti. Paraprakriti, Aparaprakriti you spoke about and also said fools will focus on Aparaprakriti and the wise one will focus on Paraprakriti and attain liberation now. So right through when he is explaining, emphasizing the Jivan Mukti, suddenly when he talks about Prayana Kale, which doesn't fit under the scheme of Krishna's message, Arjuna asks, what is this Prayana Kale now you are talking about? That is the first 2 verses, Arjuna's question. From from verse 3 to verse 28, Krishna elaborately answers those questions. And when he is elaborately answering the question, what he does is, in 3 and 4, he gives very crisp one-word definition, answer. He doesn't go into elaboration for the 6 technical words. He doesn't go into elaboration at all. Why he doesn't go into elaboration? Because he just wanted to wake up Arjuna and make sure that he is asking something so that he follows what he is saying. So he quickly gives a crisp definition for the 6 words and then he goes on to elaborate the 7th. This is the scheme of chapter 8, which is divided into 4 topics. Verses 1 to 7. Brahman and world, you gain what you pursue. 8 to 14. Through ever steadfast yoga and meditation, you reach Brahman. 15 to 22. Akshara Brahma comes here. Brahman beyond the manifest and the unmanifest world. Manifest world we understand. What is that unmanifest world? Brahman beyond the manifest and unmanifest world. That is topic 3, verses 15 to 22. And then a very interesting part of Bhagavad Gita, the paths of return and non-return, no return. Where he is going to talk about the Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, Shuklapa, all that he is going to talk about. That verses 23 to 28. This is the brief outlay of the chapter 8. The words we remember. Adi Yajnam, Adi Daivam, Adi Bhutam, Karmam, Brahman, all this. These are the six words. So 29, 30, 1 and 2, just the same words gets repeated. Krishna says that in 29 and 30. Arjuna repeats it in verses 1 and 2 of chapter 8. We will read verses 1 and 2 together. Verses 1 and 2. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः अर्जुन उवाच किं तद् ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मम् किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः.
Arjuna said, what is that Brahman? What is Adhyatma, inner self? What is Karma, action, O Purushottama? What is called Adi Bhuta, above elements? And what is termed as Adi Deva, above gods? Who and how is Adi Yajna, above sacrifice? Here in this body, O Madhusudana, and how are you to be known at the time of death? By the self-controlled. So, he is repeating what Krishna has said in the previous chapter. What is that Brahman? Kim Brahma. Kim that what is that Brahman? What is karma? What is Adi Daivam? And what is Adi? What is Brahman? What is Adhyatma? What is karma? What is Adi Bhuta? What is Adi Daiva? That is the question. O Purushottama. Purushottama is a name for Krishna. Purushottama, Uttama Purusha. Uttama Purusha means none, there cannot be none above this, greatest. Purushottama means the greatest one, where in the past, present, future, nobody can excel that. That is the state of Purushottama. Where when we go to 15th chapter, we will see it in detail. What is this word Purushottama itself, and we reverse it and we will study it as Uttama Purusha. So, O Purushottama, what is that Brahman? What is Adhyatmam? What is Adibhutam? What is Adidaivam? What is Karma? Then the next question that he is asking is, who and how is Adi Yajna? Look at the two questions he is asking. He is introducing one extra. Who is Adi Yajna? One question. 6a and 6b. You can put it like that. Yeah. Who is Adi Yajna? 6a. 6b. How is Adi Yajna here in this body? Krishna never said Adi Yajna in this body, and he never said that. He said Adi Yajna. Arjuna is asking for somewhere else you would have heard Adi Yajna in the body somewhere. So he is just remembering that and asking that even though Krishna didn't, see, these are all the smaller things that you should notice when you are studying. Why I am bringing it to your notice is because when you study, you should be able to note these kind of differences. If you are missing it now, you are not studying, you are not reading it properly. That's what. And most of the time we keep missing these kind of things. He says Adi Yajna, that's what 29, 30 he said. Now what is Arjuna asking? Who is Adi Yajna? Correct. How is Adi Yajna here in this body? From where he got this idea that Adi Yajna is in this body? He simply is asking that question. O Madhusudana. Madhusudana, slayer of the demon Madhu. And how are you to be known at the time of death? How are you to be known at the time of death? By Niyatatmabihi, by the self-controlled. So from this it is very obvious. What is that? What is that is obvious? Only the self-control will be able to remember. Not everybody. Not everybody. People say, sir, last thought, if I think about God, it is enough. No. How can you think about God the last thought if you have not been thinking about it all the time? Therefore, he introduces, Arjuna himself introduces this. Niyatatmabihi. How are you to be known at the time of death? By the self-controlled. Now, the first 6 doesn't require any explanation. What is this word? What is the answer? What is this word? What is the answer? And the prayana kalepi requires some elaboration. Little bit of elaboration is required only to the 7th question. First thing is prayana kale. Prayana means travel. Isn't it? Prayana means travel. Prayana kale, at the time of travel. At the time of travel. So wherever we talk about this prayana kale, in philosophical, in Vedantic language, prayana kale refers to leaving one gross body and taking up another gross body. That is the prayana kale. Not any other preparation, not any other travel. This is the prayana kale. Now the question is, how are you to be known at the time of death? Now, the death here can be interpreted in 2 ways. The death here can be interpreted as moving from one gross body to another gross body, or the death of the ego. It can be interpreted in 2 ways. You can interpret it from moving from one physical body to another physical body, carrying the subtle and causal body with you. Another is when the ego dies, when the subtle causal body dies, when all the instruments by which I know something goes away, how can I know you? It can be interpreted in 2 ways. It can be interpreted. And most of the time people interpret it in the first method only. The second method rarely people interpret. But here we are going to see both. The first interpretation is very straightforward. Whole lifetime I have led a very indulgent life, uncontrolled life I have led. How can I remember God at the time of death? The answer is, you cannot. The answer is, you cannot. How can you remember? You cannot, isn't it? And that too, memory loss Allah will come old age. No. Old age comes, memory loss comes, you don't even know your name, you don't even know your children. Your own children comes and stand in front of you, they ask, who are you? That which you are attached to your whole life, you don't remember. How can you remember God at that point of time? So obviously, it is not talking about all those who are dying. He's talking about those, prayana kale, he's talking about those who have niyatatmabihi, self-controlled. Niyatatmabihi means one who has practiced self-control. The technical word for self-control is achara. those who have led the self-controlled life, meaning who had led this life of achara, at the time of death, how will they remember? It can be, Krishna gives both answers. He gives both answers. This interpretation is justified because Krishna speaks from both the angles. The second angle from which the Prayana Kale answer is given is at the death of the instruments, when the mind and intellect itself is destroyed, when the ego is completely annihilated. How will the person know you? Because knowing requires an instrument. To know anything, you need a corresponding instrument. For without a corresponding instrument, knowledge is not possible. When all the instruments by which you know is gone, how will I know? Prayana kalepi. So all this practice we do, self-control, this, that, and all we do, and the ego dies, and all the instruments are gone. How will I know you? That is the way in which you can interpret this question also. So, looking at these two ways of interpreting the seventh question, from verse number 5, this chapter evolves, elaborating the Prayana Kali. So, the 6 words and the 7th question. And in the 6th word, Adi Yajnam, Arjuna introduced one thing which Krishna didn't say in 29 and 30. What is Adi Yajnam? Who is Adi Yajnam is okay. How is Adi Yajnam here in this body? How is Adi Yajnam here in this body? Krishna should have said, I didn't say all this. Why are you? Where did I say Adi Yajnam here in this body? I never said it. And Krishna gives an answer to that also. Having read Arjuna's question, we will move on to Krishna's answer. Because when we read the answer, we are going to define these 6. We are going to define the 6 words in the answer. So we will read verse number 3.
Shri Bhagavan Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyatma Muchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visarga Karma Sankitaha. Shri Bhagavan Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyatma Muchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visarga Karma Sanhitaha.
Blessed Lord said, Brahman is the imperishable, the supreme. His own being is called Adhyatma. The creative force that causes the birth of beings is called karma, action. Again, the Blessed Lord said, Brahman is the imperishable, the supreme. His own being is called Adhyatma, inner self. The creative force that causes the birth of beings is called karma, action. Arjuna would have thought, what is this answer? Where is the answer to the question? What is Brahman? What is Brahman? The answer. Brahman is the imperishable Aksharam, the supreme. Brahman is imperishable. And then there is one adjective added, supreme. Based on this, it is called Akshara Brahma Yoga. this chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga, because that is what Krishna, what is Brahman? He says it is Aksharam Brahma. Na ksharati iti akshara. That is the root. Grammatically, that is the root. That which doesn't, that which cannot perish at all is akshara. That which cannot perish at all. That which cannot change at all. Perish means that which cannot change at all is Brahman. And that is supreme. Brahman remains the ever same. Brahman remains the imperishable. Aksharam it is. Because these are so beautiful technical terms, he picks it up again in the 15th chapter. Though Arjuna doesn't connect it. He talks about the Kshara, the Akshara, and the Uttama Purusha. So Kshara means that which is perishable. Akshara is that which is imperishable. So what is Brahman? That which can never perish, that which doesn't perish at all is Brahman. What does it mean? All that you know of has a common quality, that is perishable. Perishability is the common factor of all that we know. This is something that doesn't fit under that. What is that? Brahman, Akshara. So work from that angle. All that we know has one common property. What is that one common property? It is all perishable. Kshara, it perishes. Perishes means changes. Perishes doesn't mean disappearing. Perishes mean changes from one to the other. It keeps changing. Na ksharati iti akshara. That is the root. That which can never, that which doesn't have perishability as its property is akshara. And if you look at the world, including your own self, everything about you is perishable, and the world around you is also perishable. It means that common property of everything that we can know of in the past, present, and future is perishable. And here he is talking about that something which doesn't perish. So what is Brahman? It is imperishable. It is imperishable. What is Adhyatmam? Swabhava is called Adhyatma. Akshara Brahma is very simple. See, he just defines and escapes. Sometimes I also think Abhay explained when to boil next verse. One's own being is Adhyatma, the inner self. So what is called as the inner self? The Swabhava is called the inner self. Swabhava. So Brahman is in the imperishable, supreme. Adhyatma is Swabhava. Swabhava means the intrinsic nature that doesn't perish. So Swabhava is of two. From the angle of the Jiva, there is the Swabhava that keeps changing. Here he is not talking about that. Here he is talking about Adhyatma as in the intrinsic being in you that doesn't change. So what is Swabhava? From the macrocosm you can call it as Brahman. From the microcosm you can call it as Adhyatma. Both are one and the same. Again we repeat. From the angle of macrocosm it is Brahman. From the angle of microcosm, it is Adhyatma, Atman. And both are one and the same. Only thing is, we are talking one from the angle of macrocosm, another from the angle of microcosm. So from the angle of macrocosm, it is called like that. From the angle of microcosm, it is called like this. Adhyatmam. Bhuta Bhava Udbhavakaraha Karma Sanjitaha. What is karma? What is karma? Wonderful definition of karma he gives. He gives a very beautiful definition for karma. What is karma? The creative force that causes the birth of beings is called karma. Karma means action, yajna karma, selfless action. It is so. We could have given such a beautiful, elaborate explanation, left, right, center, criticizing everybody. All people in the world are selfish, self-centered. Nobody does anything. Yeah, some kind of explanation we could have given, and it would have been very soothing also to talk like that. He is not giving that explanation. Yeah, because it is really nice, no, simply sitting and yeah. Voluntarily, you also come to get criticized. I am so happy criticizing. You voluntarily come to get criticized. Where on earth you will get an audience where week after week they will come to get criticized and go back. What a joy it gives. And Krishna is not helping us in any way. He could have said karma means yajna karma. If we have said that, it is easy. But beautiful definition it gives. What? The creative force that causes the birth of beings is called karma. The creative force. What is that creative force here? He is talking about the source of creation. Karma is the source of creation. But yesterday you said there is no such thing called creation. Vedanta, we never use the word creation, we only use the word manifestation. Don't mix it up, because there we are discussing about Mithya and Maya. Here we are not discussing about Mithya and Maya. The context is different. Don't mix it up here. There the context is Mithya. Here the context is Saguna to Nirguna to Moksha. So we are talking at a very, very different level here. So when you are talking at the different level, we accept that there is when we are talking at a lower level, we accept that there is a creation. And what is the cause for creation? Karma. God is not the cause for creation. Karma is the cause for creation. And don't ask any further questions, because he is not explaining anything. So, or any explanation that we are going to give for this is our interpretation. If it doesn't make any sense, don't blame Krishna for that, because he is not saying, he only saying what? The creative force that causes the birth of beings is called karma, action. There is this thing called creative urge. There is this quality called creative urge. Whenever identification with that creative urge happens, there arises an action. There arises an action. So, for an action to happen, the source of action is the creative urge. What is the creative urge? That's explanation he gives in the commentary also. the urge to paint in a painter, the poetic urge in a poet, musical urge in a musician. Whenever the musician identifies with the urge to create a music, there arises music. Wherever a person identifies with that creative urge, there arises an action. Similarly, when Brahman identifies with its creative urge, there arises living beings. That is the third explanation. Bhuta bhavod bhavakaraha visarga karma sanjitaha. When Brahman identifies with its creative urge, there arises living beings. The only catch here is, in the case of an ordinary person identifying, you can ask why and how. Why is that urge? Because that urge itself has a motive, a result, etc. All that happens in any of these urges. Now, when that comparison should not be done when it comes to Brahman here. That comparison you do not do. All that it means is what? We are seeing and experiencing a pluralistic world. Go from this angle. Don't come from Brahman to the world. When you're talking about Saguna, Nirguna, where is he going? Remember the path that he is taking. What is the path that he is taking? From the pluralistic world towards Brahman he is going. Don't come from Brahman to the pluralistic world, don't come. Go from pluralistic world to Brahman. So, all that you see in this pluralistic world is a constant action. A constant action. Poetically, not poetically, technically, it is called the creative urge. Visarga, birth. Visarga means birth. That which causes the birth. What is that which causes the birth? The creative force that causes the birth is called karma. And what is that creative force? That which causes creation to happen. Don't worry. It is very onnum puriyalena kuda it's okay. Where there is this action. Action means you can call it work. Another word for action is work. You can say the creative force that causes beings to spring forth into manifestation. That creative force that brings about the manifestation is called karma. Are you able to follow? The creative force that brings about the manifestation. Birth can be called as manifestation. Are you able to follow now? The birth can be called as manifestation. Therefore, that force which causes beings to spring forth into manifestation. Okay. What causes manifestation? There is only the Adhyatma, there is only Brahman. What causes the manifestation? You cannot say Brahman causes manifestation. You cannot say that. Because Brahman is the causeless, cause, etc. It is pure consciousness. All that is already explained. Akshara Brahma, that is already explained. So, what is it that brings forth manifestation is the question. What is it that brings forth manifestation? That which brings forth manifestation is called karma, that creative urge. And that creative urge equals karma. Therefore, what is karma? That which brings beings into manifestation. From the word birth, use the implied meaning of the word birth. It becomes easy. Don't use the literal meaning of the word birth. Use the implied meaning. And what is the implied meaning of the word birth? Manifestation. Birth means manifestation. Death means unmanifestation. So what brings about manifestation of beings? That creative force that brings about manifestation is called karma. Simply use the word karma. Don't use the word action and all. Simply use the word karma. Action because something is happening. And calling it as karma is the right way, because what is karma? Karma means, we have seen elsewhere in the 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, we have seen that already. Karma means that which creates, that which modifies, that which changes, that which takes you from place to place. All put together is called karma. What is action? Action is that which is executed through body, mind, intellect. What is action? Action means by which you can create something. Action means by which you can destroy something. Action means by which you can purify something. Action means you can move from one place to another place. This is action. All that we saw in when we did action, chapter 3, chapter 4, we did that. So action means that which creates, action means that which destroys, action means that which purifies, action means that which moves from place to place. Table, what is it called? The table is the birth. Table is because of an action. Table is because of an action. The tree got destroyed. Action. That which is clean, that which is dirty is cleaned. Action. You move from one place to another place. That is action. Creative force is that which makes all this possible. Creative force is that which makes all these possible. And when this actually comes into being, it is called karma, action. So the third, what is karma? Karma equals the creative force that causes beings to come into manifestation. And how do you know there is manifestation? Because these four continuously happens. When these four continuously happens, only there is manifestation. When we talk about manifestation, what is manifestation? Action. Action means what? Moving from one place to the other, constantly making something, destroying something, purifying something. That which purified gets dirty again. You do something, it gets dirty again. You clean it up again, you purify it again. So there is something that is manifestation, means constantly something is happening. When constantly something is happening, that is called action. Where does it come from? It comes from the creative urge. And what is karma? The creative force that causes beings to come into manifestation. Visarga is called karma, action. So 3 of the 6 words, 3 words are explained. What is Brahman? What is Brahman? Aksharam. What is Brahman? Aksharam. What is Adhyatmam? Swabhavam, the inner self. What is Adhyatma? Swabhavam, the inner self. What is karma? What is karma? The creative force. The creative force that brings about manifestations. So here understand karma means manifestation that brings about these two. How do we understand that? Your present is because of what? Your present is because of what? Two words. Your present is because of what? Past actions. Past actions. You should not simply say the past. The past actions. So the present is brought about by the past actions. And this karma continue causing prayana kale. He is going to connect all that. It is this karma that is going to cause the prayana, this prayana kale, and by doing a particular type of karma, you can get over that prayana. You can stop this travel. Therefore, what is karma here? Karma means bhuta bhava udbhava karaha. Visarga means, even though visarga is translated as birth, the Sanskrit word visarga actually means a activity which brings about origin and manifestation of beings. Visarga means that which brings about manifestation. That which brings about manifestation in a very broad sense, you can call it as birth. Are you able to follow? So it is very important to understand birth equals manifestation. If you understand birth equals manifestation, down the line everything becomes easy. Karma sanjitam. Karma sanjitam means united with that. United with that what? That creative urge. Macrocosm, it's called Aksharam. Microcosm, it is called Adhyatmam. Macrocosm and microcosm combined is the manifestation, and that which has caused the manifestation, that which has brought about the manifestation is karma. That's all, very clear. There's no, at least we should not be having so many doubts about all this, because we have studied all this in detail. That which has brought about the manifestation of macro and micro is karma. What brought about the manifestation of macro and micro? Not Brahman and Adhyatma. Karma doesn't bring about Brahman and Adhyatma. What does karma bring about? What does karma bring about? Karma brings about Jiva and Sharira. The creative work doesn't bring about. When it manifests, what is the manifestation? The manifestation as Jivas, individuals. This is verse number 3. Yes. One clarification.
You said the creative force that causes the birth, you understand birth as manifestations. I am slightly confused because you said that manifestation and projections are all the same. And when we are bringing the word creation, if manifestation is not understood as manifestation, then it appears to be creation. And manifestation as creation is dealt differently in some way. So
She is She is mixing up with what I said, don't mix up. I specifically said, don't mix it up. Since I have said specifically, don't mix it up, she is very beautifully mixed it up. Here, there is a creation. Don't talk about projection and all here. We accept that there is a creation here. Don't mix it up with that. Don't mix it up with that. Because these are all the very questions that keeps coming, which we cover already. What she is asking is, creation means projection. No. No, here creation doesn't mean projection. Here creation means manifestation. Manifestation of the multitude of beings. Here creation means the manifestation of the multitude of beings. That is the word that he is using. Jiva, Bhuta, Bhava, Udbhava Karaha. That is the word. Meaning, Bhuta means the multitude. Bhutas, the multitude of beings. Udbhava Karaha, it came out. As it were, it came out. It came out. Because of what? It came out because of what? Because of the creative urge. You don't call it as creative urge. It came out because of some activity. So it is activity that brings about creation. What is the difficulty in understanding that? Because I said very clearly from what angle he is talking. Don't mix it up. When you mix it up, this is what will happen. From what angle he is talking? He is talking from the angle of the plurality backwards. Saguna, Nirguna we are talking about. We are not talking about Mithya here. We are not talking about Maya here and saying the whole thing is illusion. We are not talking about illusion here. We are talking about a creation. Bhuta, Bhav, Prayana Kali is talking, no. When we say all this as illusion, where does Prayana Kali and all will fit in here? That's why I said, that's why I elaborated in the very introduction of the 8th chapter itself that please cooperate with the flow that he is going. Please cooperate with the flow that he is going. What is the flow that he is going? Paraprakriti, Aparaprakriti and all has been spoken about. You need to get rid of the Apara and come to the Para, but very difficult to let go of the Apara Prakriti. How does one do that? What does one do to do that and all is going to discuss. Therefore, he is talking about the knowledge at a totally different level. So don't mix it up. Okay? Which I already explained. Karma Sanjitam. Karma Sanjitam means known as karma. Visarga is any activity which brings about origin and manifestation of all beings, not individual. Understand the cosmic phenomena. What brings about the dream phenomena? Some activity. That is called the karma. Are you able to follow? What brings about the dream phenomena, the dreamer and the dream world? Some activity. And that activity that brings about manifestation is called karma. But you said no such thing ever came. No, correct. But the problem is you are seeing something. Not only you are seeing something, you are affected by that also. See, seeing means affectation. It's not just seeing. Whenever we talk about you seeing the world means you are seeing means affectation. Therefore, the 3 words are answered. What are the 3 words that is answered? What is Brahman is answered. What is Adhyatma is answered. What is karma is answered. See, by the time we go to the next class, these 6 words we'll forget. Because he never repeats these words again. Only in this 5-6 verses he repeats these words. And then he takes a discussion to a different direction altogether. So the three words are explained in verse number 3. Now we are going to verse number 4. We'll study verse number 4.
Adhibhutam ksharo bhavah purushascha-adhidaivatam adhiyajñohame-vatra dehe deha-bhritam-vah adhibhutam ksharo bhavah purushascha-adhidaivatam adhiyajñohame-vatra dehe deha-bhritam-vah.
3 words. Adhibhutam is the perishable nature. Adhidaivatam is the indweller. I alone, the Adhiyajna, here in the body, O best of the embodied. Arjuna, the next 3 words are explained here. Adhibhutam. What is Adhibhutam? The perishable nature. Adhidaivam, the indweller. We'll elaborate all this. And then 6a and 6b is answered. What is 6a? Who is Adhiyajna and how he resides in the body? And that is answered in I alone, the Adhiyajna, here in the body. To put it very simply, he is simply repeating what is Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. That's all. He is not saying anything new. He is not saying anything new. He is just using, he has brought about the technical words here. In the beginning of the 7th chapter, he spoke poetic language. Here he is using the classic Vedantic terms. These are all the classic Vedantic terms, simply explaining Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. He is not saying anything new at all. It is just the repetition of it in the with the technical words. But he doesn't say it. He doesn't say it like that. We are the one we have to sit and derive it. So what is Adhibhutam? Bhutam means the elements. Adhibhutam, the perishable nature. Previously, he spoke about the imperishable nature of Brahman. There is the perishable aspect and then there is the imperishable aspect. The imperishable aspect is called Brahman, Aksharam. The perishable aspect is called Adhibhutam. So make a comparison. Aksharam, Adhibhutam. It becomes very clear. Aksharam, Adhibhutam. Aksharam is imperishable. Perishable is Adhibhutam. Because in Prakriti there are these two. There is this perishable and then there is this imperishable. The Prakriti, the nature, the matter is a weird combination of these two. The improbable, impossible combination of these two. What is that improbable, impossible combination of the two? The perishable and the imperishable. So if you take the word, there is this imperishable eternity and there is this perishable eternity, because this perishing is also happening continuously. Meant for reflection. These words are beautiful words for reflection. This Adhiyajnam talks about the imperishable eternity. And Adhibhutam talks about the perishable, and that also appears to be eternal because it goes again and again. It looks like if Brahman is Anadi, this also looks like parallel eternal. And there can't be two And there can't be two eternals. If there are two eternals, then there will be the third, there will be the fourth, there will be the fifth. Then we get into, yeah, as it is, we are confused, it will create more confusion. Therefore, what is he talking about? That improbable combination. What is that improbable combination? One is Aksharam and another is Adibhutam. Adibhutam Ksharo Bhavaha. Purushaschadi Daivatam. Daivatam is the divine principle. Daivatam is the divine principle. Adi Daivam is the indweller. That indweller can be connected to Adhyatma. The indweller, are able to understand? The indweller can be, the Adi Daivam can be connected to the Adhyatma, because both are inner things. The third one is Adi Yajnam. I am that Adi Yajnam in this body. O best of the embodied. We'll come to that later. The Adi Yajna in the body I will come to later. First we'll study Adi Bhutam. Adi Bhutam is the perishable nature. Then comes the Adi Yajnam. Ksharabhavaha Ati Bhutam. Purusha Adi Daivatam. Adi Yajnam Ahameva Atra. This is how you have to segregate it in Sanskrit. And that segregation in Sanskrit makes it easy to follow in English. So don't worry about it. What is Ksharabhavaha Atibhutam? The imperishable nature. Brahman, as it were, is saying this Adibhutam constitutes my perishable nature. My perishable nature, because everything is Brahman. Brahman identifies with perishable, Brahman identifies with imperishable, and then he says, I am beyond perishable and imperishable, everything. So every perishable thing in creation is called Adibhutam. Are you able to follow? Every perishable thing in creation is called Adibhutam. Bhutam is what? We have seen Bhutam. Bhutam means Bhutani, Bhutas, the elements. It refers to the elements which are perishable. So where is the elements from? The elements are also from me, but they have a different nature. What is their different nature? They perish. They are from me, but they have a different nature. Perish. Perishing means doesn't get destroyed. Perishing means keeps changing. Understand the word perishable as changing. Nothing perishes. Nothing can, because since it is infinite cannot perish. It can keep the bhava, keeps the form that keeps changing. Prakriti and Vikriti, two terms, two technical terms. Prakriti is when the universe is in the seed form. Vikriti when it is manifested and come out. From manifestation to unmanifestation to manifestation to unmanifestation, it keeps happening. That is Adibhutam. And why it is called Ksharam? It is called Ksharam because it is moving from manifestation to unmanifestation. Therefore, it is called Ksharam. The second is Purusha Adidaivatam. Adidaivatam here, Daivam. Daivam here refers to the indweller. The Daivam here refers to the indweller, which is very similar to the Adhyatma, which we saw already in the previous verse. Other way of looking at Daivam, there is this other way of looking at Daivam. Daivam means a divine. Daivam here means divine. Subtle. Divine means it is subtle. What is subtle? What is subtle? The moment it comes into manifestation, there is a subtle law that is governing the entire manifestation. Carefully follow. The moment it comes into manifestation, when Prakriti becomes Vikriti, when unmanifest becomes manifest, there is this Daivam in that. What is Daivam means? Divine, order, subtle. There is an order. It is subtle. It is divine. What is that? The law. Therefore, Adidaivam can also mean the law that governs the manifestation. I am that law that governs the manifestation. Are you able to follow? The moment it comes into manifestation, there is an order. That order is the indweller. And who is that? Adiyajnam. I am that. And why he uses the word yajnam? The word yajnam, the word yajna is next. Daivam. Daivam means divine. In Vedantic language, divine means a order, a law, something that is maintaining it. That which is maintaining the whole thing is the indweller. In that way, Adhyatmam and Adidaivam is different. In that way, Adhyatmam and Adidaivam is different. In another way, Adhyatmam and Adidaivam is one and the same. Why we are giving so much of elaborations? Because these are all classic technical Vedantic words. And very rarely in Bhagavad Gita, he uses these kind of words. And whenever he uses these words, we have to elaborate it like this. And not only we elaborate it like this, when these kind of words comes only, show off time. I can also show off so many things. It's a show off time. We can use it to, I am using it to show off. What all? In what all ways you can study, in what all ways you can elaborate it. So what is Adidaivam? The indweller. The indweller from one angle is Adhyatmam. The indweller from another angle is the order, the law. Because the manifestation has an order. When it is manifest, it's not a chaotic manifestation. There is an orderly manifestation. That orderly manifestation is Daivam. So I am that Adi Daivam. 5 words, 5 definitions are given. The 6th one, Adiyajnam. Adiyajnam ahameva deha britam vara. This Adiyajnam ahameva we will reserve for next week. Too much of definitions. And I never realized it's already 9 o'clock. I thought it's only 10 minutes over, I thought. It was beautiful words. I thought only 10 minutes are over. Suddenly I realized it is 9 o'clock. So this Adiyajnam we will reserve for next week. For today, this 5 itself is it's not too tiring or confusing, just different words. Just different words to convey that which he has already, elaborated in the previous chapter. So, we have seen only the 5 definitions. The 6th one, we will take it up the Adiyajnam, and how I alone the Adiyajnam here in the body. We will take it up in the next session. Clarifications we will take up.
Bharat has posted a clarification.
Bharat. Yes. Isn't destructive force also contributing to change? Why is creative force only mentioned? We also heard that change is process of maintenance. So is maintenance akin to karma. See, when we talk about creative force, it is not the creative force as in Bharat. It's not the creative force as in bringing something in. So what is meant by creative force here is that which brings something into manifestation. The creative force here refers to Bhuta Bhava Udbhavakaram. That Udbhavam, Udbodbhavam we say, no? That's a very, it's a very fantastic technical term. Udbhavam. Udbhavam means that which brings about a manifestation. A manifestation of a cosmic manifestation. We are not talking about the individual manifestation here. We are talking about the cosmic manifestation. What is this cosmic manifestation? If you see it in the Vedanta treatise, Vishwa, Taijasa, Hiranyagarbha, and all that, where they talk about the microcosm and the macrocosm. Here we are talking about the creative force that brings about the multitude of beings, as in plurality, as in the entire phenomena that comes out. That force that brings about the manifestation of the force that brings about manifestation is called the creative force, which is called action. The moment it comes into manifestation, what all happens? What all you said happens. Destructive force is also contributing to change. Change is process of maintenance. Yes, that is also. So creation, maintenance, destruction is part of karma. Action means these three goes together always. Something is created, or that which is created is maintained, or that we get in. So karma means, action means the three combined always. Creation, maintenance, destruction. Here we are talking about the creative force that brought about this manifestation of creation, maintenance, destruction. The moment it comes into manifestation, it will manifest as maintenance, creation, maintenance, destruction. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. That which brought about Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara is what? Creative urge, karma. Are you able to follow? Understand it like that. Action means the three. Creative, creation, maintenance, destruction. All these three are integrated. One goes with one follows the other. It's a cycle. The question here is, what is it that brought about the manifestation of creation, maintenance, destruction? What is that called? Are you able to follow? What is that called? He gives it a word, calling it as karma, action. That which brought about these three is karma. That three is, you cannot, so he is using a word. What is the word that he is using here? He is using the word Visarga Karma Sanjitam. When it is born of action, these three, creation, maintenance, destruction, is born out of this creative force. Udbhavakaram. Are you able to follow, Bharat? Manifestation ஆயிடுத்துனா இந்த மூணு இருக்கு கண்டிப்பா. What is that which caused this manifestation? That which caused this manifestation is Udbhavakaram. Bhuta Bhava Udbhavakaram. Bhuta Bhava Udbhavakaram is The creative force that brought about the beings, after coming about, they do very many things. After I am born, I do very many things. The question is, what caused my birth? Action. And that action is called Udbhavakaram. Yes, Bharat. Cholunga. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, Bharat.
Yes. So yeah, correct. I think I'm able to follow now. Of course, I will read again.
Yeah.
But the reason I was I was confused completely. But thanks to you, now I'm a little better, so I can continue to introspect. I was trying to do that. The what remains as my doubt is still, even we go back and to the Brahman. So Brahman is in different ways. He is Sakshi only, right? So basically, what I understand, I might be wrong, sir. Sorry, but any person who is a Sakshi does not act, right?
Correct.
So when you're saying that the karma action is coming from the Brahman,
yes,
or from the Adi,
yes,
how can he be a Sakshi?
correct.
Subsequently, what you said is right. For example,
correct.
whatever comes
Correct.
manifest, no problem at all, because they have to go through change, including the creation, the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, whatever, the three process, everything has to go through change. Then, so I hope I was clear in asking this.
Yeah. See, Brahman is a Sakshi. Brahman at the same time is the enlivener. Brahman is a Sakshi. Brahman is the enlivener. Since everything has come out of Brahman, the source of creation is Brahman. If Brahman is absolute Sakshi, nothing will come out of Brahman. This multitude of beings would not have come about at all. Now there is this multitude of beings that is there. We cannot say he is the creator as in the potter creating the pot. Then how do we connect to that? That connect is a very, very touchy one, where it gets very confusing. Do we give the responsibility of creation on him or on karma? If we say the responsibility of creation is karma, where does karma come from? Where does karma come from? Poetically, he says, from me. It comes from me, meaning I am Brahman, everything is in me. Everything is in me in the sense, everything is in the seed form in me. Whenever identification happens with that, there is a creation. What will make Brahman to identify with that? What will cause Brahman to identify with that? For which we say, that is something that is anirvachaniyam, that is indescribable. That is indescribable because what it means, there has to be a reason to connect with the urge, no? Okay, we say everything is Brahman, there is an urge. But then there has to be a reason to connect with that urge. What reason Brahman would have had to connect with that? Then it means we reduce Brahman to a person. Here we are talking about Brahman as something which is not a person, but something has happened, this multitude of beings has come about. So here, what is taken for granted here? At one level, we say Brahman is the cause for creation, which we saw already in chapter 4, chapter 7 also we saw. I am the seed giving father, he said. First he said this, and then first he said, I created everything. And then he disowned everything and said, Prakriti created this. I only enliven the Prakriti. Third sentence he said, I have nothing to do with this because none of this ever happened. So Vedanta talks about these three stages always. Are you able to follow? It talks about these three stages. Why it talks about these three stages? Going from known to the unknown. In the angle think panni paarungo, because we are going to talk about it again. In the 8th and 9th verse and all, when we go in, we will be discussing this principle again. That's why I'm just rushing through it today, because we are going to discuss it again. But for today's answer, think in this way. Is it okay, Bharat? Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, one more clarification.
Creative force or creative urge is used at macrocosmic level, and vasana is also used as urge and force, which is in the microcosmic level.
Don't mix up vasanas and all here. He is not using vasana and all here. That which brings about manifestation is the creative force. Anything for something to come into manifestation, something has to happen. Then only it will come into manifestation. That something that causes manifestation is called the creative force. Don't equate it to, the question that she is asking is creative urge similar to vasana? Correct? No. Don't connect it. If you say vasana, then you are exactly repeating what Krishna said. Because where does vasana come from? Where does vasana come from? Chronology of action. Where does vasana come from? In the chronology of action, where does vasana come from? Action. Action creates vasana, vasana creates action. That's why we studied the chronology of action. Are you able to follow? In chronology of action, action creates vasana. Vasana creates action. Therefore, the creative urge is action.
He was previously explained for the first karma.
So it is already it is explained in the terms of the cycle, the chronology of action. Are you able to follow? One question that you should not ask is, what caused the first vasana? Any number of times you have elaborated, that is the most illogical question that a person can ask. You can ask that question, but there is no logic in that question. It's an absurd question. Why it is an absurd question? Because you can't put the cart before the horse. It is like the child asking, why you didn't take me for? The child asks the parents, why are you are taking me to every other wedding? Why you didn't take me to your wedding? The child itself is the product of the wedding. How can the product precede the producer? Are you able to follow? So why the urge? How did the first vasana comes about? All this is called indeterminable. Indeterminable in the sense anirvachaniyam. Are you able to follow? So don't equate it to vasanas here. Action. He's saying action means restrict it to action and independently try to understand what he is saying, and then we may connect it with all that one day. Are you able to follow? One day we will connect it, but today restrict it to this. Seriya? Venkatachalam. Venkatachalam is having clarification, no?
Yeah.
Yes, Venkatachalam.
It was I who posted the question.
Oh, okay, ma. Yes.
The question was Vikriti
Yes.
is different, as
Yes.
I understand, varied Whereas Daivam
Yes.
is similar
same.
or
Yes.
the same.
Correct. See, in Vikriti, there is an order. In Vikriti, the manifestation, there is an order. And wherever there is an order, order means a method, not chaos. Wherever there is an order, not chaos, we call it as divine. So in that sense, it is Daivam. Correct. And the Daivam is the same in all manifestations. It is common. In that sense, it is, you can connect it to the previous thing, what he called it as. In the previous verse, he said Adhyatmam, no?
Yeah. Inner
You can connect it to the Adhyatmam in that way also. Is it okay, ma?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ram Subramaniam.
Yes, sir.
What is he asking? Ram Subramaniam.
I will read out, sir. So,
Yeah, please read out.
when Sri Raghavendra, under the name of Parimalacharya, he gets involved in debates with different scholars in different kingdoms in his journeys.
Yes.
He's asked what the reason for birth is. So we understand that he has, of course, studied the Gita.
Yes.
He says desire.
Yes.
So my question is this equivalent to karma? And
Yes.
is this reference to desire, the desire of the soul or spirit to come to the present based on past actions?
Now, the reason for birth is karma. You need to understand the chronology of action, Ram Subramaniam. The chronology of action is vasana, thought, desire, action. It's a cycle. Vasana, thought, desire, action. Vasana brings about action. Action creates vasanas. It's a cycle. It's two pedals. Now, what is the cause for birth? Birth here could mean manifestation, or birth could mean the birth of the Sharira. Whatever be it, what is the cause for it? The cause for it is karma, action. And obviously action born of desire. So to call it as desire is not wrong. To call it as desire makes it much more comprehensible. All that we have studied already. Here is using a technical term, Radhanala, we are talking about it technically like that. But karma comes out of a kama. Where there is karma, what is behind all karmas? There is a kama, a desire. For there cannot be an action without a desire. And where does that desire come from? Previous action. Where does that come from? Previous. So, creation, birth is born out of action. You are correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Ram Subramaniam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. We'll continue with these two verses again and elaborate the sixth. The five. We will go through the five. We will revise the five and we will elaborate the sixth in the next session.